Hey guys, insight number 3. There's a few verses we're just focusing on here, so I'll say them, but remember they're also in the notes. So if you're like furiously trying to scribble them down, it's in the notes. Don't panic. So Ruth chapter 3, we're looking at verses 9, 17 to 18, and chapter 4. Okay, so in chapter 3. At the end of chapter 2, actually, Ruth goes home to Naomi and says, look at all this food I have, and she's like, where did you go? And she tells her, she's like, oh my gosh, that's Boaz, is a kinsman, you can marry him, we can figure this out. So under Naomi's instruction, Ruth goes and lies, because they guard the grain by sleeping on it, which, if you're going to eat it afterwards, is a little gross, but I guess that's what they did then. I'm not a big grain eater, so it doesn't bother me. But, you think of the salt that sits out in the, I don't know. Sometimes you don't really need to know where your food comes from, eh? But anyway, so they're guarding this grain by lying and sleeping in there, in that grain house. And Naomi instructs Ruth, go and sleep at his feet. Like he's lying like this, go sleep at his feet. So she did softly, and he woke up, and in verse 9, which is where we're going to start, he said, who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, and thou art a near for thou art a near kinsman. Now, when she's saying that, it means skirt can be interpreted, and it's a little off here, probably means wing, although he doesn't actually have wings. It means to protect, like, can you protect me? For thou, I'm your hand, I'm your servant, I'll, whatever, I'm humble to you, and you're a kinsman, you can marry me. So basically what she's doing is asking Boaz to marry her, which is kind of cool, that, he's a forward woman, that's what it is, steadfastly loyal, forward woman, that's what we like, ask them to marry her. So he's like, okay, I like this idea. He might have already had a couple of wives, but he was all for it. He really liked the character, he trusted her, they probably had some, just spark, I don't know. We'd like to know more, right? We'd like to see the actual thing happening. But not only does he tell her, yes, I'll figure this out, we'll do this, but I've got to go and talk to the other men of the family, because that's how we do it here. But stay the night, but go home before sun comes up, under cover of night, so no one thinks ill of you. Because by sleeping at his feet, there's no funny business going on. There's no, innuendos to happen. But you know how people gossip. So he wanted to protect her. He didn't do anything bad there. And he also sends her home with 6 bushels of grain, or what was it, barley, so to take to Naomi, to not go back empty. And I think that's a real measure of character of who Boaz was. It wasn't just like, oh cool, I'm getting another hot wife. This is like, but take food to Naomi, make sure she's taken care of, and in marrying you, I will always take care of Naomi. Which is just such a lovely, sweet thing, because the kinsman part was Naomi's husband, not Naomi. So it was just really nice that, they're related, but that you're taking care of him. So it was an extended family, because we read in chapter, we're looking at 17 and 18, yeah. So this is when the 6 measures of barley he gave he unto me, for he said unto me, go not empty the mother-in-law. So then at 18, Naomi says, sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall, for the man will not be in rest until he hath finished the thing this day. So Naomi even knows what's going to happen. She knows what's coming, like a faithful woman, right? She's excited too. So in chapter 4, we're not going to read the whole of 4, because really, it's 22 verses long, and it's not that bad, but it is long, right? So he talks to the kinsman, gathers at the gate, has a chat with him. There's one more closer related kinsman who says that he declines because he would be giving up his own inheritance. So I think somehow, whatever their inheritance laws worked, that in marrying Ruth, he would be giving up what he was entitled to, which would leave him with nothing, which is just a bad idea all round, just the way that their inheritance laws and things worked. So he declined, which he can, there's no have to marry anyone. So Boaz was completely within his rights, absolutely marries Ruth. It says that in 13. So Boaz took Ruth unto his wife, and she bore a son. So she had a child with Boaz. Really cool. And she actually gave the child to Naomi and said, here's a gift for you. You raise a son. You had 2 sons taken from you. Raise this first child of mine, which is something that a lot of cultures do even now. But that would be incredibly hard to do after you've lost a husband, after you've been through everything. But to give up that child and give it to your mother-in-law to raise, even though she's going to go on and have more children. But they called that boy Obed. Obed is the father of Jesse, and Jesse is the father of David, as in King David, as in David that slew Goliath. So this is a literal line that now also leads through to Christ. So this is kind of cool. This is another strong woman in Christ's heritage, one that was just full of righteousness, loyalty, who was steadfastly minded. I think it's so cool. So this is what happens. Boaz is their family redeemer. He comes in there, and what looked like a meager existence through faith in Christ, they were provided for. I just like Boaz, from what looked like a meager existence through faith in Christ, knowing Christ would never leave them. The bad situation became so good. Sorry, I'm just trying to read my notes, are a bit of a mess. Anyway, there you go. They were provided for. Now, Elder Uchtdorf, he said, God is real. He lives. He loves you. He knows you. He understands you. And I think for me, that's the biggest one. You can love me, but do you understand me? God does. Jesus does. He understands me. He knows your silent pleadings of your heart. He hears you. He has not abandoned you, and he will not forsake you. And I think it's just a good reminder to have every day in our lives that Christ really does love you. He does understand you. He does know who you are, and he will not abandon you. No matter how ugly it looks, he's still there. And if you can't feel it, maybe you need to focus more on him, because he's there. You just got to turn your attention to him. Instead of paying attention to the world, pay attention to Christ. You'll start feeling it more. Promise you that. Okay. So, that's Ruth's kind of story in 3 little nutshells that we've done there. Please go read it though, and the Come Follow Me manual does some real basics around sort of the whole 3 women stories together. So have a look at that too. But this is just really, I just sort of broke it down into the individual circumstances of these ladies who are just so faithful and good. We're going to go talk about Hannah, but do go read Ruth. It really is a good book. The story is, like, as I said, it's 4 chapters long. I thought it was 3 because they're that short. It seems like 3, but it's 4 chapters long, and it's a really good read. So do that, and I'll see you in a bit, and we'll talk about Hannah. Okay, see you there.